Section 3.3, problem number 1. And it says one-time fee of $3.20 and plus it's $40 per month. Okay. All right, so I'm going to switch back and forth. So I basically got it written down there. Yeah, Mo. Did I push laptop? I did. I see nothing. You see nothing. That's the problemo here. There's a problem. It's showing nothing at all. All right, let me see. What if I let's solve the thing. So how do you do that? So the 40 per month, and didn't they have what did they have? Oh, and they called. I didn't write all the words down, but it said C of x is the cost function it wants me to write. So what that means is that's like f of x, right? Remember from algebra functions, that's like f of x, except they're just using c for cost. So x is my variable, and they said, in fact, I didn't write that down either. They said x is the number of months. X is the number of months was also written in the original Math Excel question. Okay, so if x is the number of months, what is the formula going to be? Well, do you guys know how to do this one? Yeah. So it's 320 plus 40x, right? Are you okay with that? I want to make sure that makes sense for you because it's 40 times x because x is the number of months, right? So you know what helps if that's at all confusing for you. What I learned in all my years of, one thing I learned in all my years of solving so many word problems is that I think better with numbers than I do with a letter. That's one thing I would. So, for example, if you're reading this one, might be confusing, might not for you. But if you're reading some, there certainly will be word problems at some point in this class that are confusing, that are not instantly clear to you. So, if you read a word problem and you don't know exactly what to do at first with the x, just pretend it's a 10. Just think, hey, what if somebody told me 10 months or any number you want? Just grab a number. You think way better with numbers. So do I than we do with x because x is after. So, if somebody said, hey, 10 months, what's the charge? Well, the one-time fee is $3.20 and it's $40 per month. Every one of you in here could figure that out. Lickety split with a calculator, right? What would you do? You would take the 10 months and do what with the 10? Multiply by 40. That's why the x goes with the 40, huh? And then you would add the 320. So just do with the x what you would do with the 10. That helps me a lot in word problems. I just think about what I would do with the 10, and then I'm like, oh yeah, so then just do that with the x. So try that out if you're having trouble on a word problem at some point. All right, let's go back to Math Excel. So there's question number 1. That's all there is to that one. Let's go onward to question 2. There's 19 in this section. I'm not going to do them all. I'll jump around, try to do one of every type. Parking garage charges a one-time fee of $3 plus $3.50 per half hour. Oh, per half hour. They're being tricky, aren't they? You see what they're saying there? So try that one out. So one-time fee of $3 plus $3.50 per half hour. So see if you can write a formula. So what are we going to do with the $3.50 per half hour? Yeah, we're just going to double it, right? Are we all clear with that? Why? How do I know? Because they say X hours. See how they said X hours at the back? Here, I'm switching. Right? They said X, if you don't notice back in the Math Excel, they said X hours. So they're not going in half hours. They could have, but they didn't. They said X hours. So therefore, if it's $3.50 per half an hour, it's what? $7. Come on, pen. $7 per hour, isn't it? Per hour. $7 per hour. So then the cost function is going to be the one-time fee of $3 plus $7 per hour times X hours. Does that make sense on that? Can we just add those and make that 10X? Why not? Yeah, these are unlike terms, aren't they? If that was 3X and 7X, we could have it would be 10X, but they're unlike terms. Remember that algebra stuff? So that's the answer right there. We good with that one? If you go back to the Math Excel stuff, here, we'll go back to the desktop. You can see that's answer D there. So there it is. All right, let's move on. This is probably not too bad for you right now. Dispatch tools at work spends 29, whatever that is, 29,000 to produce 190 parts, achieving a marginal cost of 145. Find the linear cost function. Okay. That's a little tricky. Yeah. All right, let's talk about, so we want to write that down. I'm going to write it as well, and then, so if you want to start on that, I'm going to write it down on the iPad, and then we'll solve it together. But go ahead and jump on it if you know what to do. So if you were stuck on this one, you could click the help button if you're doing your homework. So, is that too small? I don't know if I can make it bigger. No, I can't. I should have went in the, I can't make it bigger. Here, I'll switch over to the iPad. All right, so the whole question for us is, what is marginal cost? Do you guys know what that word means? So there's like a word we need. Marginal cost means cost per item. Oops, pen's not working well. Cost per one item. So marginal cost is cost for only one item. On a paper, the margin is small. The margin is a small area. That's what we mean. So we say marginal something, we mean the cost for just one of those, just a small amount. Just one. That's the idea with using that word. So marginal, we'll use that throughout the course. When we talk about the marginal whatever, they mean for just one. So in other words, that's just like in the last two problems when they said, what's the cost per 1 hour, right, of the whatever it was. That's the variable amount, in other words. The cost per 1 hour. So coming back here, 145. So that means my cost function that they're asking me for is 145x plus, and then I don't know. I got to figure that out, which I'll do in a second. But everybody good so far? That 145 is what goes next to the x. How do we know? How do we know that's not the other number? Because it's the cost per item. X is the number of items. The number, in this case, it's, what is it? Parts. Yeah, X is the number of parts. So the cost per item is the variable. So that 145 goes there. So then how do we find out the other part? What are we going to do? Well, 29,000, remember, is the cost. Let's use this. This is the. It's got to obviously be up there using those facts, right? Those are the items we haven't used yet. Yeah.
Divided to. So if it's $145 per part, then wouldn't it be 145 times 190, and we would.
Yeah, you got to play. See, so the cost. That's right. The cost is 29,000, right? For producing 190 parts. X, remember, X is number of parts. Plus, and then just call that other thing B or Joe or Tom or whatever letter you want. Just throw a letter out there. I'm thinking of Y equals MX plus B, you know, but you can do whatever you want. Just stick some, you put a question mark there if you want. It's just something I don't know which I need to find, which I can now solve. If I multiply this in my calculator, you can use calculators on all the tests and everything. If I multiply these together and then subtract, I'll find out what this is, and that's what goes there, and then I'll have the formula. Does that make sense? See how I got that? So let's finish it, and then we'll. So somebody have a calculator. What is 145 times 190? 2900 minus 145. 2755.
Yeah, 27,500.
2755. Okay, thanks. Equals 29,000.
Oh, it's 27,000.
Oh, I'm off by a zero, huh? 27,550? Thank you. See what I'm doing there? I'm going to solve for B now. How do you solve that little equation for B? You just subtract the 27,550. Boom. So we get 1,450 equals B. So we've got B. So what's the final answer to this question? It is the C of X function equals 145x plus 1450. Is it still on the screen? Yeah, for B. There it is. Let me talk through that again. Are you catching? Are you tracking with what happened there? Okay, so what did we do? Let's run over it one more time. So they told me 29,000 is the cost for 190 parts. That's what it costs the manufacturing plant to produce 190 parts. The marginal cost, and again, you got to know, that's the marginal whatever is always what goes next to X, because that's per item. Just like a minute ago when we were doing cost, right? You guys know what I mean? If I look back here, let me make sure I'm making sense when I say that's what we just did. If you look back here, see what we did on number 1 and number 2? The one-time fee is $320. The per month, that's per 1 month, isn't it? That's marginal. $40 is the marginal cost, in other words. So you guys see what I'm saying? Marginal cost is the cost for one whatever. You're talking about a part or a month of a cell phone or an hour of whatever that is, right? It's the part that always goes next to the variable. $7 per hour. So it's always the per. So right, that's $7 per 1 hour, isn't it? And it's $40 per 1 month. That's marginal, in other words. And notice that's what goes next to the X in the formula, because that's per item. So whatever X is, that's going to be the number of those. So going back here, when they tell me the marginal cost is 145, I know that goes right next to the X, and then all I need to find is the B. The way to find it is to use the original information, $29,000 cost. When you plug in X to be 100, X is the number of parts, 190 parts, and solve for B. And there we go. So that formula, what will that do? That'll predict the cost of however many parts you want. You can say, what if we make 10,000 parts? Plug it in 10,000, and you'll figure out what it's going to cost the company to make 10,000 parts, or any other number. Is that good? Little algebra there. So this class has a lot of that. Like I was saying, it's pretty algebra intensive. All right, there's another cost function. Find the average cost per item when the required number of items are produced. Okay, so can you see that? I can't make it any bigger because I'd have to go over to the Windows version. Anybody know on Apple, how do you make that blow up? I know you can hold down the control and roll the mouse when you're in Windows. When you're in.
I think it's Control Plus.
Is it? Control. Where's my plus? Nothing's happening. Not for this browser anyway. Oh, I'm in Safari, aren't I? I probably should have went in something else.
I think it's very top.
Am I in Chrome? Yeah, because Chrome for Windows, you just hold down the control and do the mouse in the roller, and it rolls. But it's not working here. It's not the same for.
The very top,
Yeah?
top right corner, there's these 3 bars. On the right.
Oh, yeah, can I blow it up that way? Yeah, it might be a good idea. Zoom in, huh? Oh, yeah, nice. Okay, there we go. Good idea, thank you. So, yeah, can you see that better? Okay, so let's try that one. Cost function. They're asking me something different now. Something a little different. Find the average cost per item when the required number of items are produced. So give that a try. See what you can do. See if that's making any sense for you. I'll write it down and let you get started on it, and then I'll do it. All right, so one of the things you've got to be really, what's a little bit hard on this in this class is there are a lot of word problems, and they're not just cookie cutter like intermediate. This is college level now, so there's a separation. What happens in the math curriculum is there's intermediate algebra and below, which really is high school, right? And now this is above that. So at college level classes, this will count for Fresno State, what I mean by college. Any university will accept this class as transferred, whereas they don't take high school classes, right? They don't take algebra, even though we teach it here. No university takes it. This is college level. And what that means is we expect just a little bit more. The material is just a little bit harder, and so it's not going to be cookie cutter. Like when I teach algebra, I'll show them one kind of word problem. And I'll say, all right, now there's 7 of these. And they kind of just do the same thing every time, and then kind of get that down. That's a non-college level class. College level math, they're going to change things up constantly. You really have to be a better thinker. You have to be able to read and really understand what it is they're talking about. It takes more hours. I just want to be clear. I love teaching finite math, but I hate the results I usually get. This is one of the, I'm real encouraging today. I want to be upfront with you though, because I don't want you to have a bad experience. The pass rates are usually pretty bad for this class. It's because the algebra gets pretty tough. I'll do all I can to help you. I don't want to fail people. I'm going to do everything I can to help you pass. But I just want to let you know up front, if you're super weak at algebra and your background, then this is going to be really, really challenging. You need to put in a lot of, because they're just going to keep changing it up. It's not the same thing every time. They want you to be more, they want you to really be able to read a word problem and really think kind of on the spot. It's not going to be the same thing every time, kind of like it is now. So for example, they're saying, find the average cost per item. That's a different kind of question. So you got to think real life, like, okay, how do I find what does that mean, average? And we will try it. This is number 6. So. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, yeah, I would use y equals mx plus b. There's other ways you can do it. I'm just going to use y equals mx plus b. Is that a good way? No, you know what I'm going to do, guys? I think it would be easier for you if I did this. Yeah, let me change the plan. I mean, that'll wait. Some of you can do it that way, and that'd be fine. I'm going to do this. I found this is easier for students. I'm going to use the slope. Remember the slope formula from algebra days? y1 minus, or y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1 for slope. I'm going to use that, but it's a slightly altered version of the slope formula. It'll be easier. You'll avoid fractions is what we'll do. So, see what I'm doing here. So remember the slope formula from algebra? y2, y1, x2, x1. That's supposed to be x1. And I made them plain y and plain x in the front. So I'm using the slope formula like from algebra. Rise over run, remember that? Y's are rise, up, down, x's are run, sideways. But I'm not putting the 2's here. I'm doing a plain y and plain x. So it's like the slope formula from algebra with a slight alteration of just a plain y and a plain x in the front. Okay, so now what's the y and the x? I'm going to go over, okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to let y be the cost and x be the number of years. Because those are the two things we're talking about. Cost and number of years on this one, right? So 15,400, that's a y value at 0 years old. And at 2 years old, the cost is 12,942. See what I've done there? So I'm turning them into xy points, like for an algebra equation. So this is x, number of years, this is y, cost. X, 2 years old, value, 12,942. So remember how to find the equation of a line from algebra? Maybe not. Maybe you're thinking, I don't remember that. Equation of a line from algebra, giving two things like that, 2 points. Let's plug them in. First off, well, actually, first we need, what does M stand for? Do you remember that? That's slope, huh? How do you find slope? Well, yeah, let me change it. It's y. Let me fix this first off. I'm going to do the formula both ways. I'm going to use it the old way, and then I'll do it that new way. So let me put the 2's in there, and then I'll take them back out. So hope I'm not confusing you. Let me walk you through it. So I'm going to do the slope formula twice. Once the old way with all 4 numbers. I'm going to plug in. This will be my y2, x2, x1, y1. So y2, 12,942 minus 15,400 over 2 minus 0. Everybody tracking with me? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Somebody have a calculator? It's at 2,000. It is, thank you. 2,458 over, and it's negative, huh? Over 2, so that's negative 1229. The pen just won't keep up with me. 29, right? So that's my slope. That is my slope. And now, I want to use that. I'm going to use the M formula one more time. I'm going to go on to, you guys okay with there if I go on to a new screen? I'm going to use the M formula again. I'll flash back in a second if you didn't see that. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to use the M formula one more time, this time the old way. I'm sorry, the new way. I'm saying the wrong thing. All right, here, let me be clear. So first off, I turned the information, 15,400, 0 years old, 12,942, 2 years old, into xy, x is years, y is cost. I wrote the slope formula, with the 4 numbers, plug it in, we found the slope is minus 1220. You know what that is? That means it's losing 1229 per year. That's what that negative is. It's losing $1,229 per year. Right? That's marginal again. You can think of M as for marginal. That works. M is the part that goes next to x, right? Y equals mx plus b. Remember I said the part next to x is always the marginal. It's always the per 1, right? This is per 1 year. It means every 1 year it's losing $1,229. That's why it's negative. It's losing value. Okay, so once you've got that, then start over again with the slope formula. But notice I'm using it the new way now. It's not y2, it's plain y and plain x in the front, right? You guys tracking with me? So use the slope formula twice. Once the old way with the 4 numbers, and now the new way with the plain y and the plain x. And what's the m? Well, we just found it, minus 1229. And the y and x, the plain y and plain x, just stay plain y and plain x. Plug in the x1, y1. Now, what's the x1, y1? Well, either pair. We had two pair of numbers, didn't we? One of them, the easy one was the 0. What was it? 0 and 15,400. I'm going to go with that pair, but you could do the other pair, and that would work just fine. It doesn't really matter. I'll plug the x in for x and the y in for y. So this will be 15,400, and this will be 0. Pretty good so far? We're almost out of time, so I'll finish this one up. So pretty good there. So everybody see what I'm doing? So I used the slope formula the old way with the 4 numbers, got the slope. Start again with the slope formula now with the plane y, plane x in the front. Okay, now you got equal one, a fraction on each. We'll put this over 1, and it's a fraction on each side. What do you do when you got 2 equal fractions? Cross multiply. Diagonal, diagonal. You remember that from algebra? I'm going to take this and go like that. I'm going to take this and go like that. Diagonal, diagonal. Good to there. Remember that kind of thing? Remember cross multiplying from algebra? That's what I just did. Okay, now, boom, boom. Minus 1229x plus 0. 0 times 1229 is 0. 1 times these guys is not going to change anything. We're almost done. We good to there. Last step, I got to get y alone. Because y is the cost, right? So just add, yeah, I'm just going to add the 15,400 over. There's a lot of steps. Boy, this pen is wigging out on me. Anybody know how to make an iPad pen write faster? It just keeps choking. Let me know. Because probably most of you know tech much better than me. It's my first experience. All right, so there's our answer. We're done. That's the cost, in other words. It's negative 12.9x plus 15,400. So you could plug in X number of years, like say, hey, what about when it's 10 years old? How much is it going to be? You plug in 10, and it would tell you what that car will be worth after 10 years. I think their final question was, what will it be worth after 6 years? Yeah. They want that formula for the first answer, and then the second answer they say, you know, what's the formulas? Part A, boom, there's the formula. And then part B said, how much will it be worth after, was it 6 years? So you just plug in a 6 here. Hit the buttons on your calculator. That would tell you. All right, we're out of time. So this is not due Thursday. We've got more. What was that, question 7 or something? We got more to do. Next time it'll be due next Tuesday. Have a good day, guys. If you got questions, feel free to hang out. So I'll put this on YouTube if you missed anything.